Hi, my name is Claire.
And I'm Tiffany.
So, Tiff, we first met at the beginning of 2025 as part of the planning for a trauma-informed care event that took place in September of 2025, and I was part of the planning meeting.
I became involved because I am part of the Children in Care Council and voice group at the council, and I'm also care experienced.
So, Tiff, you were one of 8 people from different user-led groups that were part of this project. Having the voice of lived experience was a priority and a foundation for this work, and we wanted to do it in a way to make sure people felt cared for and supported, and that people felt in control of what they said and how they said it.
We held a couple of workshops where we focused on trauma-informed definition, principles, and we reflected as to what it means to us and how our experiences have played into them.
So we filmed the whole process, and we did that for a few reasons. The first one was so that people with lived experience could be in control of what they said and how they said it. It also meant that we could show that film at the trauma-informed care event to all those attendees. And it also meant that we could then share that film to a wider audience to reach more than just those professionals at that event. Okay? So we are going to have a conversation today, Tiff, around trauma-informed care and how trauma has affected you, Tiff, and your experiences of accessing support and services. But before we do that, I wanted to ask you for your reflections on the workshop and what stood out for you the most.
The moment that stayed with me the most was hearing other people just open up about their experiences, realizing I realized how deeply trauma shapes people in ways we don't always see. And it was powerful watching people connect, relate, be vulnerable in a room that felt safe enough for honesty. Seeing everyone actually listening, not just out of curiosity, but out of empathy, showed me how important spaces like this are. For once, everyone's story equally mattered, and nobody was minimizing or comparing anyone's pain. It was like a reminder that trauma doesn't always look the same in every person, but its weight is something we all understand on some level.
As someone who has lived experience of trauma and the care system, what does trauma-informed care feel like to you?
To me, trauma-informed care feels like someone turning a light on in a room that I didn't even know was dark. It's comforting, but feels unfamiliar and a bit unsettling at first. When you've grown up being dismissed, ignored, or misunderstood by professionals, kindness can actually feel suspicious. A worker really listening or showing genuine care can make you feel like you're on edge, like you're just waiting for that moment to drop where they become just like everyone else who let you down. But when a professional stays consistent, and I mean really consistent, it slowly breaks through that fear over time. And over time, it becomes something that feels safe, grounding, and real. It makes me think that I'm not too much, and maybe someone actually wants to support me without expecting me to be like a performing act or perfect.
Why does consistency matter so much to someone who has had a lot of instability growing up?
Consistency matters because when instability is your normal, you stop expecting anything good to happen or to last. You learn early on that people leave, break promises, and support disappears the moment you need it most. So when a worker keeps showing up, even when you push them away, even when you shut down, or when you're just not knowing where to look for help, it's a huge, and it slowly teaches you not everyone is unpredictable. It gives you something solid to hold on to in life where things felt shaky. But for people like me, a consistent worker can be that one thread of safety in a life full of chaos. And those workers are the ones that really change young people's lives, even without realising it.
What do you wish that people understood most about the invisible side of trauma?
I wish people understood that trauma doesn't just disappear when the conversation ends or when I force a smile to look fine. Trauma just lives in your nervous system, your breathing, your muscles, your heartbeat, your sleep, and your reactions. After speaking about my experience, my body doesn't just move on. I can go from emotionally open to complete shutdown and within minutes. Like migraines, exhaustion, chest pains, disassociation, anxiety, and overwhelming heaviness. Just because someone looks okay doesn't actually mean they're not carrying a weight that's invisible to everyone else. Trauma isn't always loud or obvious. Sometimes it's a quiet collapse, and you only see it when the doors are closed.
When you think about the symptoms of trauma that you experience, what does it feel like inside your mind and inside your body?
Trauma feels like everything suddenly becomes too heavy and tight at the same time. My chest feels like it's being squeezed, my throat feels blocked, and my breathing becomes shallow even when I try to control it. My mind goes foggy, like someone has turned down the volume on my thoughts. I feel disconnected from everything, even myself. It's like watching my life rather than living it, and sometimes it feels like my body is shouting whilst my mind is whispering, and I can't get those two to match up. It's confusing, overwhelming, and exhausting all at once.
How has trauma shaped the way you see yourself, the way you trust others, or move through the world?
Trauma made me grow up before I even knew what childhood was supposed to feel like. I spent my early years protecting my brothers, walking on eggshells and scanning any room for danger, and just absorbing responsibilities that should never sit on a child's shoulders. I saw things no child should ever see, and I had to survive things that still affect me now. Because of that, I look at myself through a lens of hyper-responsibility, like I must manage everything and keep everyone safe, even at the cost of my own well-being. Trust doesn't come naturally to me. I assume people will leave or change or just let me down. I overthink every relationship because my brain has learned early that the world isn't safe. Trauma taught me to disassociate, to detach, to overfunction, to protect myself at all costs. And it's shaped how I walk through life, cautious, alert, and always scanning for the next thing that might go wrong.
When did you first realise that the trauma that you carried didn't start with you?
I realised it when I was old enough to just see my parents as not just parents, but as people. That's when I understood that they were carrying their own trauma, their own pain, their own history of instability. And suddenly it just clicked. Like, I wasn't damaged or broken. I was just born into a cycle that existed long before I came along. And understanding that didn't fix everything. It helped me see that the weight I carry wasn't because I failed. It was because I inherited something heavy that nobody else before me had the tools to heal. And I had to learn that no matter how much I wanted to, I wasn't meant to be the saving grace for my family either. But what I could do was just protect my future children and safeguard them and just create that stability I never had.
What qualities help you feel safe enough to trust an adult or a professional?
I feel safe with adults who show up with calmness, realness and patience. Professionals who don't judge, don't rush me and don't take it personally. If I shut down or get distant, I trust people who explain things clearly and stick to their word. They stay regulated and are honest with something that is difficult to say. Safety comes from action and consistency, gentleness, respect and accountability. Those are the qualities that make me feel like I don't have to hide or protect myself.
How did you feel, Tiff, to finally be seen by your worker?
It felt like breathing after holding my breath for years. When a worker truly gets you, you feel understood in ways that go deeper than just words. It's like someone finally seeing the version of you that existed beneath the coping mechanisms, the shutdowns, the defensive behaviour. It made me feel human and like I mattered, and I wasn't just another case or a problem to be fixed. Being seen like that is rare and it will stay with you forever.
How can workers avoid causing harm, even if it's unintentional?
Workers can avoid causing harm by slowing down and remembering that young people with trauma aren't reacting to them. They're reacting to past experiences that still live in their bodies. And asking instead of assuming, listening instead of jumping in, and regulating themselves before trying to regulate a young person makes a huge difference. Being aware of their power that they hold, respecting boundaries, staying consistent are just key things that they can do. Most importantly, like, they need to recognise that even the small actions, like a tone of voice, a cancelled meeting, a broken promise, can either deepen trust or reopen old wounds.
Tiff, what is the one thing that you want people to take away from today's conversation?
The one thing that I want everyone to take away from today is it's the importance of being confident in consistency. For those of us who have experienced trauma, especially in care, consistency is everything. It's what helps us feel safe, seen and supported. When support is unpredictable, it can feel like we've been given up on all over again. But when people show up for us time and time again, in the same way, it builds trust, and trust is the foundation of healing.
Thank you, Tiff.